The coral reefs of the southern Gulf of Mexico are not well known to most Gulf residents. They run from coastal waters north of Veracruz along an arc that swings south and then around to the western coast of the Yucatan. Each reef has been described as an undersea city, far more complex and diverse than any human metropolis. The study of these reef systems has been a lifelong passion for both Dr. John Tunnell of the Harte Research Institute and his longtime friend and fellow scientist, Dr. Ernesto Chavez of Mexico's Interdisciplinary Center for Marine Studies. They have spent nearly 40 years studying these undersea treasures with their colleagues and with their students. Their new book, Coral Reefs of the Southern Gulf of Mexico, is a comprehensive collection of what is known about the reefs today and the problems that threaten their future existence.
We decided early on, when Ernesto and I decided to put it together, that we wanted to cover kind of all of the bases, so to speak, in the sciences, beginning with the history of research that was there, but then not just looking at the biology, looking at the geology, looking at the oceanography and the climate that's a part of the reason that the reefs are there, and following through in the biology from biodiversity to the major groups of organisms, the algae, the corals, the fish, and that sort of thing.
Scientific research made in southern Gulf of Mexico coral reefs has been made for many years, not with so much intensity as some other better known ecosystems, but there was a lot of information spread here and there, published over time.
It was about 100 years of information in the literature starting in the early 1890s, the first papers of discovery of the reefs, and it was in 3 different languages, English, mostly Spanish, and then an important German paper.
It was necessary to synthesize all this information in order to be in the position to say, okay, this is what is known up to now. From here, we will be able to define what is next.
And so we thought putting all of the chronology of the years together and all of the papers together in one place would be a great help, not only to scientists and students, but to managers because of the problems that have developed in recent years to try to work on fixing those things.
Many of the coral reefs in the southern Gulf, like their counterparts worldwide, have declined alarmingly over the past 2 decades because of human impacts as well as disease and other natural phenomena. Restoring and managing these fragile ecosystems will require international cooperation, and this book helps lay the foundation for such an approach. The research presented and the recommendations in the final chapter are the collaborative results of Mexican experts and their American counterparts working toward a common goal. As Dr. Chavez points out, pollution has no notion of political boundaries.
The only way that we can do something to improve the environmental quality is working together. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve any better.
Efforts are also being made to have the book translated into Spanish for wider distribution in Mexico. It's also being presented to policymakers in the U.S. with good effect.
I had the good fortune of visiting a man in NOAA who works with large marine ecosystems around the world and funding of those things, and I gave him a copy of it back in late May, and he helps with the purse strings of the Global Environment Facility through the World Bank. And he said, and I told him about the sewage problem in the area in Veracruz where so much sewage goes in, which is a nutrient for the algae growing. And he held the book and said, Wes, this book may be worth $10 million in funding to start the restoration of the sewage facilities or wastewater treatment facilities in Veracruz.
Congratulations to Dr. John Tunnell and Dr. Ernesto Chavez, winners of the 2008 Gulf Guardian Award in the binational category.